It never rains.
We do have a hard stop by 7 for sure, because we have a meeting after this as well, so let's get right into it, and looks like everybody's here that's on the committee, so we went to an official roll call, but everybody is here. We'll jump right into consent agenda. Has everybody had a time to take a peek at that? Any questions, concerns? Anything more from Margaret on?
We do have another hire that will be adding for April 28th. We hired a media specialist, which was a replacement for a person who had retired this year. So
Sure.
that was considered a hard to fill position. So we went ahead and found a good experienced candidate, and we're looking forward to her joining us in August. We did recently extend an offer to the assistant principal position. I anticipate that that may also be on the April 28th board consent agenda. And just as a reminder, we asterisk those people that are added in between today's meeting and the board meeting, so that you know which ones were the most recent additions.
All right, Diana?
So I have a question, with, well, we can't really say names, can we? Or can we? It's about,
We're in
there's a leave
open.
of absence position that's in there. And it's for a chunk of time and then another chunk of time with the summer in the middle. So in a leave of absence, don't we typically suspend the benefits, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
So in this particular situation, benefits will be
Yes.
through the summer, but not,
Effective at the end of the month in which the leave begins. So if somebody takes a leave beginning the end of the month and it's not an FMLA qualified leave, then whatever benefits they're carrying end at the last day of the month under when the leave becomes effective, and then they go into unpaid leave status. In this case, there are two different types of leave. One is for the leave of absence for the rest of this year, and then there's a second leave request that is for a full year from the start August of 25 till the end of 26.
so that
And-
explains it, because it's two separate leaves.
Yes,
But they're in one line, so the rest of this year is one leave,
correct,
and then that's why the summer is there, and then the
correct.
next year, okay, that explains it, because I was wondering why the summer was there, but that
Yes.
clarifies it, thank you.
Greg?
Did I hear correctly, an offer was made to fill the interim assistant principal position,
The associate principal?
associate principal?
Yeah.
At the high school?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Fair enough. Any further questions? If not, that will move forward as a consent agenda for the full board to look at. Summer school consent
So-
agenda.
This is just a continuation of the recruitment for the summer school program that we run every year. And this is just a list of the people that have been added since the last consent agenda that we presented to you. We anticipate that most of our positions will be filled. I think, as you know, anyone that has done this more than once knows that we continue to have summer school hires will trickle in throughout the rest of the summer based on people coming and going, which happens a little bit more frequently than it did in past years. And then also if there are any new needs that are developed during the course of summer school, like if we have special needs for someone and we don't have sufficient paraprofessional support, or we need to bring in some other type of support staff hires, then we do that on an as we go basis. And these all sunset at the end of summer school. There's no continuing employment that's associated with these particular appointments. But I think overall, we're in pretty good shape for summer school hiring for this year.
Any questions on summer school?
I have one. When you say, Margaret, we're in pretty good shape, can you put a percentage to that?
I
Are
don't
we
have
like
the number of
60%,
vacancies.
50%, 70, you know,
I was more
ballparkish?
like 80, 90.
80, 90? No, that's
Maybe I'm
wonderful.
not
It's
really
just-
confident, but yeah, I think 90+%, but
I just remember last month, it was a lot of the a lot of the bigger stuff. This is more elementary. So the bulk of it is done. Perfect, thank you.
that was my understanding now.
Any further questions? Seeing none, that will also move forward to the full board. The draft resolution. I don't know if anybody, wants to speak on that, or if you just want me to take over on that, but
So this is a continuation from last month's discussion when we were talking about the various pieces of information that are included in the personnel section of the consent agenda. And at the end of our discussion, there was an action item that had been identified to modify the consent agenda to include only the certified staff and administrator hires that are made, which is the statutory requirement for information that's provided through a consent agenda to the board. And so this is just the draft language to fulfill that action item that was assigned to me.
good explanation.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, that will move as well. All right, now I'm gonna turn to you again, Margaret, and
Yeah.
would you like to talk about collective bargaining?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the time to mention this. So we do have a request from the Watertown ULE, which is the collective bargaining unit for our certified staff, and they have made a request to begin negotiations for this year. Their initial request had been to almost begin immediately. And we did not have, we have not yet met as this committee or as the full board to go through the process that we normally go through to develop the collective bargaining proposal or proposals that we are interested in presenting to the Watertown ULE. So I just wanted to let you know that that process has started, because once we get the request to bargain, we do have to follow up and give some type of response. We will be talking more about like potential proposals and things like that in closed session, but that process has now commenced more or less with the first request. And as some of you know, this can go on back and forth for quite a while as we work through proposal development, and as well as what types of schedules we can work up with the collective bargaining unit to establish negotiation sessions. So more to follow, but it's now, before it was something that was going to happen. Now we are in process.
Any questions on that? That was informative, thank you. Next, I'll be looking for a motion to go into closed.
So
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
And then we'll do a voice vote. Close down. So why don't we start with, I'll run down the list as it's in order here. Charity?
Yeah.
Diana?
Yep.
And Dan?
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session.
I got it.
All right, so we are in closed session. We're gonna start talking, oh, wait a minute, online, we have, do we know who that is online?
Let me just see who I all have here. Hire family, I will need to put you in, move you out into the waiting room. Jason Bull, and 608-377-3400. Could you please identify you? Are you a member of the board? Okay, I will move you also to the waiting room. Okay, so we have, Margaret Brady, me, and Jason Bull online. Jason, can you hear us okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Recording still.
Copy.
Thank you, Craig.
Good call, Greg.
All right, now we're in closed session.
Okay, all of the, yes, I think we have,
Margaret, I think you are still recording. Yeah.
pardon me?
I think you are still recording. You paused the screen share. But I don't think you paused the recording. If we're intending to stop the recording.
No, you're right. Stop it.
We'll go.
It's going very slow with my cursor now,
Yes.
so. So I think we are back and open. We're good.
All right, being back and open, we are gonna be looking at the 25-26 certified staff contract renewals.
So this is the school board resolution that will, as is forwarded to the board, usually in April, so that we can issue contracts for the certified staff. This is more or less a companion resolution to the staffing plan resolution. So what you saw in this, the staffing plan, these contracts reflect what the staffing plan has set up for next year. And then, so I guess the best way to think about it is it's the companion, it's the people part to the position part.
Gotcha. Any questions on this? Seeing none, and we'll move forward as well. Take a couple minutes, we can talk about future meeting planning. So we'll be coming up to the May, and so far we got consent agenda, support staff notices, summer school staff, those are gonna be kind of standing things, I think, for a little bit. Employee wellness committee update and the planning for health and dental insurance for 2026. Is there anything else in May? I mean, we've got some contract talks to maybe start discussing, or
We may need to talk about negotiations and scheduling that depending on what we come out of the board meeting on proposals.
so maybe a special meeting for that? or-
Yeah. And then, just a reminder that health and dental insurance in our district renews on a January 1 basis. And so I'll be asking Al Yeager and Heather from our brokers, from USI Insurance Brokers, to Zoom in or attend in person, and they'll give an update on our plan performance, which will then help, I mean, the plan performance helps decide what our renewal rates will be for 2026, and that's something that we will want to start planning for and be aware of. We do have a certain amount budgeted and anticipated in anticipation of increases in health insurance, because the market seems to be pointing in that direction for most of our surrounding area, but we are not yet quite sure what or how much that increase will be. We'll have a better idea once we get our latest update. We're meeting with the brokers later this month, and then we'll get an update and bring them into all of you in May.
Anything else you guys think should be, Dan?
Is it possible to maybe have a survey of paras and find out how we could get them more hours if that's what they're seeking? Stuff like that, that we can maybe work out, even maybe sharing paras with other districts so they get a full 40 or something like that.
I'm looking at you, I mean, it'll take a minute, I don't think it'd be accomplished in 1 month, but
So, I mean, the district currently, since I believe 2012, has been hiring paraprofessionals intentionally at a rate of no more than 28.75 hours per week in order to not reach the threshold where we're required to provide health and dental insurance.
Right, I would imagine other districts are doing the same.
Mhm.
Could we share with nearby districts, share a para? And
Split the
then they
cost,
would get
I
a full
think.
40? I mean, is that,
We can always look into those ideas.
yeah,
I'd have to think about how that would work, to cover the total cost. Right? Because you're gonna have 100% of the salary shared. Right? But then you're also gonna have 100% of the benefits shared as well. And if they're already paying 100% of the salary and we're already paying 100% of the salary, we would be sharing increased costs. Yes, they would be less than doing it all our own, but it would still be increased costs.
well. I'm just talking about hours, I'm not talking about benefits.
But
I talked
but
to a
it,
para recently and that's why, yeah.
but if they incur those hours, right, and we're the hiring agent, we would be responsible for the benefits. So I would have to then contract and charge the school district that they're going to an equitable share of that.
Okay,
So you don't get out of the benefits just because they're going somewhere else. Somebody has to be the hiring agent. And that would put them into full-time status, which would give benefits.
okay.
Were they specifically looking for benefits? As
No,
part of
they wanted more hours.
because then they could just be sharing available positions with other districts nearby. Just for awareness, if there's like job boards and postings and things like that, if they're not looking to have a co-op position essentially.
The difficulty around it is they need paras for the same time we need paras. Like, it'd be different if they were, running a second or third shift. And we could say, yeah, but, they're gonna essentially hire at the same hours of the day or want to have those premium hours, right? So that's why I was hesitant when I was thinking about how would that work and thinking through that in my mind, like, I would still want them for the premium times, that we want paras for. I don't know if a district would want the less premium time for the same cost, right? And so good question, right? And we'll think about around that more. Or it just has to be this board saying, no, we want a philosophy change. We're gonna start hiring fewer paras, but we're gonna, give them as many hours as we can and we're gonna pay them benefits.
Is there a conflict of interest clause in employment? Like, can a para work in another district without causing a conflict? I'm asking, because like some employees,
Mhm.
like I couldn't work at AT&T and then go work at US Cellular.
Yeah, so they could, right? They could
Okay.
have other jobs. It's just that when we hire somebody and in their letter of intent, we ask that they hold this as their main job, right? And anything else shouldn't come into conflict with this. And if it does, that may be a rationale for us to say, thank you, but
Oh, yeah.
no, thank you. So yeah, you're right. But they can.
Good question, and Dan, great idea. I appreciate the out of the box thinking. That's awesome. Great.
I have two questions about the calendar. This year we looked at a staffing plan in March. Would it be advantageous to look at that staffing plan in February?
Yeah, we did it.
We started it in February. It's just there's questions and because of the amount of cuts we were looking to make, right? It led us into a little bit more. But we did start early in February.
Okay, and then the other thing that I would encourage the committee to consider is putting on the calendar in either November or December. District administrative non-renewal renewal discussion.
Those happen in December. By statute, your deadline is we give you 2 months. Heads up and warning, but we'll continue to leave it on there.
I don't see it on here. That's
Yeah, it's not
It's not
on
on
here.
there?
It's not on here, but good point.
Good point.
Yeah, if we could add that, because you're right, and I remember doing that this year in December as well. We
Yeah,
need to
'cause-
get it done, so a good point today. I don't see it on there.
Can I throw an out of the box thing on since we're talking calendar?
Please.
The first week in May is typically Teacher Appreciation Week. Is that still gonna be, my reason for asking is it would be nice if we as a board would send a thank you to the teachers. And I always think about it and it's too late to get something from the board out. Is that something that would stem from this committee? You know, I thought about it from the planning committee, but we're oftentimes, so I'm like, oh, thought of it now. I don't know if it gives us enough turnaround time, but as we think about the staff perception, certainly employee survey, one of the things is that board and staff relationship, and they do work very, very hard. So it would be nice just if there was something from us. I don't know what you all think, but I'm just
Like a
Throwing
thank
it
you
out there.
card or?
a thank you, an email, something that just says, hey, we appreciate, from the board's perspective, we appreciate you and all that you do. I mean, in the district where I worked before, the board provided cookies or muffins to each of the buildings as, here's just a token, thank you, whatever.
So putting that on the calendar is a discussion.
But putting that as, maybe not for today, obviously it wasn't in there, but in the calendar for next year,
Yeah.
we're ready to miss
so-
the
yeah,
deadline.
Yeah, so could we add that to the March meeting, just because that would be the preliminary, like the
Perfect.
idea generation
Mm.
meeting?
I just- yeah,
And then in
just-
April, you can finalize, this is our plan, so that if
Perfect,
there's support or whatever, we can roll it out that
Yep,
first week of
just so
May.
that way there's
Okay, I'll
something.
put it on for March.
because I forget every year to put it on the calendar, so thank you.
Carl?
I got a question for Margaret.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that with the health insurance, you deal through a broker.
Yes, we do.
Who is the broker?
USI. It's called USI Insurance.
I'm aware of them. Okay, so you do not let it out for bids, you do it strictly through the broker.
Well, the broker provides, benefits, guidance and counseling as to whether to go out for bids. Like we just finished a series of years where we had rate caps in effect. And the rate caps lifted this year. And, we met with the broker then and had talked with the broker, the committee had talked with the broker about, is it smarter to go out to RFP for bids, or should we, are we better positioned to negotiate with our existing provider to keep our rates lower or lowest as we could? And as it turned out, based on the way our plan was projected to be used, as well as their guidance, the committee had decided that they had set a goal for the broker. I think it was 7% that they had recommended, and then the broker came back after negotiating on our behalf with Ports Benefit, which is our current health insurance plan, and they held to the 7% increase. We made a little bit of plan changes, and our premiums went up a bit, and then we made those adjustments in order to contain the costs. So we do rely on them for market data, and they provide a pretty thorough report and data about not only our plan, but also like what the market looks like and who the bidders might be on a plan like ours. So we do quite a bit of planning before we just like say, okay.
I understand, okay. Additionally, does our attorneys, do they advise us also in reference to that?
I'm not sure in what way.
Well, all the legal implications that we run into.
So some of the legalities of health insurance plan administration are included as part of the delivered service from USI. And they have a benefits consultant team that works with us. And so they review our documentation, our enrollment, our eligibility standards. And then if we had questions about like, do we have to enroll or disenroll a person, they would provide the guidance and some legal guidance up to a certain point. And I mean, there's a certain point where they will say, you know, that decision is best covered by your district representation. And because it goes beyond the scope of legal services that USI would provide. So Kind of
Thank you.
depends on the
Thank you.
issue, yeah.
Back to calendar, anything else on the calendar? All right, we got the calendar. And I'll be looking for, action items, any new action items that came out of this. Margaret, you got,
So.
any lists?
The action items I'm coming out with is to move forward with the staffing plan resolution for next week's board meeting. Provide, board members with, just job descriptions for the WHS administrative team, as well as a breakout of additional or more specific duties of each of the roles, up at the high school.
Inclusive of the dean,
Pardon me?
inclusive of the dean.
Including the dean or the AD. Did you say
No, inclusive of the dean. You said the administrative positions, but I think,
dean?
the intent was also to capture the dean.
Modify the teacher or the, calendar to include admin contract, teacher appreciation.
Oh, did I miss?
No, I was just thinking that with the questions around, that Carl was asking around health insurance and brokering, maybe we wanna have that as a future topic. But I didn't mention it. I was just thinking it.
Yeah, and I would imagine that would come up, some of those questions too, next month, when we talk
Right, when we
about
talk about it.
that. Did we miss anything? That was everything I remembered. All right, looks like it was captured very well. Thank you, Margaret.
So you're welcome. I do have one question on, like, I know we had talked last month about updating the action items completed. Is that, do you want me to report that out in the agenda for this month? Like, or do you want me to include it like in the summary? I was just trying to figure out where you
Oh,
were
wow.
expecting to find that update.
So I assumed here, but the
Okay.
summary, Diane, if I remember, you kind of were talking about that is,
Yeah, I had thought, just once we started that,
Okay,
where is it gonna be the easiest for people to look and find?
Okay.
So my initial thought was board docs.
yep,
Because as people look in
Yeah.
board docs, you've got a current action items and you've got the previous ones, but if someone's got a better suggestion,
but for highlighted, I mean, just to be able to have a discussion around, do you want it in meeting here or in the summary at the full board meeting?
I don't think
How-
anyone ever needs to, it's just, you know, for going back for reference, how many times do you go back and you look and,
Sure.
hey, was this taken care of? And just a quick and easy place to find it.
So I have an idea of including it in the summary, which we can maybe test drive next, like when I do this month's summary, I'll include like the past and the future action items, so you can see like an update of those action items that were done and checked off. And then also the ones that are added here and then
Sure.
just kind of see if we can get a pattern or going.
I think that's a great start to it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and then we'll just look and maybe the meeting at the chairs or whatever, we've just gotta look for some sort of consistency from
Mhm,
committee to committee,
Right,
mhm.
just so that, and find out because right now we're trying a lot of different things to find something that works.
Yeah, absolutely,
Right.
yeah,
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. All right, looking for a motion.
So moved.
All right,
I'll second.
there's a motion and seconded, all in favor? We are closed. Completed, whatever, adjourned,
Adjourned.
that word too. Perfect, thanks, everybody.